Our search for the man who shot us leads us to the small town of Novak. Inside the big Dinolite gift shop, we find a sniper at the top, in the mouth of the dinosaur named Manny Vargas. He has the information we need, but he's not willing to give it up for free.
Well, listen, I can definitely help you find him, but I've got problems of my own. Maybe we can do a trade. You need my help. There's something I need too.
What do you need?
Novak, it's home for me now. I want that to be for good. I like it here, and I've left too many homes behind. But the only resource we got here is junk. Without that, people wouldn't have anything to trade. They'd all have to leave. We get most of it up the road from the old rocket test site, but a bunch of ghouls showed up one day and took it over. We can't get in there now.
Why don't you deal with it?
I would, but I've got to watch the road. Caesar's Legion has been taking territory just east of here. They took Nelson. If we let our guard down, they might attack. All it takes for the Legion is for them to sense weakness.
What needs to be done?
Well, they gotta go, or this'll be a ghost town before long. Doesn't matter to me what you do. As long as the ghouls are out of there, that's good enough for me.
Okay, I'll see what I can do about it.
It'd mean a lot to me.
With that, we begin the quest, Come Fly With Me. This, of course, is a reference to a Sinatra song, but the significance of the name won't be revealed to us until much later. Manny wanted us to check out that old rocket test site, as he says, but more specifically, we need to explore the Repconn rocket test site. We remember the company Repconn when we explored the Repconn company headquarters. This was the company that was taken over by Robco in a hostile takeover, the drama of which we discovered when we explored that building. But this building is where they tested their rockets. We find it by following the road due west of Novak. Along the way, we find our first ghoul. Continuing down the road, we find a concrete and sandbag barricade leading to a small tunnel through an overpass. Here we get attacked by even more feral ghouls. We pass through the tunnel, and our quest log updates as we discover the body of a ghoul, but this is not a feral ghoul. This ghoul is wearing some sort of ceremonial robes. Inspecting his body, we see that he's wearing a Bright Brotherhood robe, and he's impressively equipped. We find a lot of energy ammunition and a laser rifle. His body lies right next to this little supply depot. Surrounded by sandbag barricades on the eastern side, we find a whopping 5 ammunition canisters. Some have mines, some have grenades, most have energy ammo. On a table, we see that this ghoul had been playing a game of checkers using bottle caps, and we find his opponent lying dead next to a footlocker. Like his companion, on his inventory we find a lot of energy ammunition and another laser rifle. It's beginning to look like this is a great place to hit early in the game when playing an energy weapons character. To the northwest, there's a little shelf where we find some jet and a first aid box filled with all sorts of goodies. There's a mattress on the ground if we need to rest up before moving west to reach the main testing site. As we approach, we see a model rocket off in the distance, and to the left, a big dome of some sort. The road leads downhill, whereupon we find more feral ghouls. I suppose these ghouls must be all that is left of the poor souls who used to work here. We already know from exploring the Repconn corporate headquarters that these rockets were nuclear powered. Perhaps some of the fuel for these rockets leaked out, turning all of its employees into ghouls. At the bottom of the hill, we discover the test site, and at the base of the big rocket statue, we find another robed ghoul. On his inventory is yet another stash of energy weapons, but this time a plasma rifle. I did this encounter a long time ago, so in order to shoot this video, I had to reload a previous save. This character has not yet spec'd into guns or revolvers, so for the duration of this video, I will uncustomarily use this plasma weapon. Should prove to be a fun change. To explore the facility, we have to climb a staircase to the north. At the top, we find a large plaza swarming with ghouls. This testing site is tall and foreboding, and to enter, we open the big double doors to the north.
Hey! Over here! Are you listening? Go to the big room on the east side of this building and take the metal staircase all the way up. And hurry.
Who are you?
Who I am doesn't matter, Smooth Skin. Stop stop wasting time and get up here.
Where can I find you?
Like I said, find the metal staircase in the big room on the east side of the building. It's where they used to make rockets.
Got it.
Let's hope you do.
Well, from the tone of his voice, he sounds like a ghoul. Perhaps one of those employees has survived here for over 200 years. To find out, we need to head east as he instructed. However, first we can explore this lobby. On the ground, we find the body of a nightkin? What is a nightkin doing here in a ghoul-infested building? Lying next to his corpse is the corpse of another dead ghoul, where we can find even more energy ammunition. We begin to hear the sounds of feral ghouls, and there are a number of ways out of this room. This testing site is a huge labyrinth, spanning multiple floors and dozens of doors. It's easy to get turned around here, and because there are so many doors, these ghouls can attack us from all sides. If we're not doing a stealth run-through, we can stand atop the receptionist desk here in the middle of the lobby and pick off the ghouls as they attack us from the ground and from the second floor. When done, we can follow the instructions of the voice on the intercom and open the door to the east. On the ground, we find a bear trap that we can disarm, but this path leads us upstairs and turns us back west. At the top of the stairs, we arrive on that platform overlooking the receptionist's lobby. Here we find yet another body of a dead robed ghoul, where we can loot another plasma rifle. We are swimming in plasma and laser weapons. To continue forward, we can go left or right. We'll start by going right through the double doors, where we can see the results of our handiwork. A dead ghoul on the ground and another dead robed ghoul. There's a small break room to the right where we can find a sunset sarsaparilla and Nuka-Cola machine. There's not much in here but plates and bottles and silverware to loot. So continuing forward, we can round a corner and open a door to the south. Here we find a first aid kit on a desk and a tool cabinet which just has some scrap metal inside. This connects to a hallway by opening a door to the west, where we find a staircase leading downstairs to the left and another path to the right. But to make sure I explore everything, we're gonna back out of this room and retrace our steps and go northwest, where we find another robed ghoul. As we round the corner, we get attacked by more feral ghouls. And we find ourselves in a hallway with 5 different exits. Don't even know where to begin. Heading north, we can kill another ghoul, where we find another hallway with even more doors. This door to the north opens to some sort of office cubicle. Well, at least while we're here, we can uncover the pre-war story of this testing site. In the cubicle to the northwest, we find an employee terminal. Here, we find 3 entries. The first is public kitchen. We see that this is an intra-mail and inter-office correspondence likely sent to every employee working here. From Emily Niemeyer, the facilities manager. Hello everyone. Please remember that the kitchen is a privilege and not a right. Please clean up after yourselves and remember that a clean kitchen is a happy kitchen. Thanks, Emily. P.S. Please also remember that any food left in the icebox without a date will be thrown away every Friday evening, so date your food. Ah, typical work site passive aggressiveness. In the next one, we find evidence of what we learned at the corporate headquarters, the merger between Repconn and Robco. In the note, "Welcome to Robco," we find another employee-wide memo, this time from Steve Reynolds, the launch facility project manager. Greetings, fellow Repconn employees. I am happy to announce that we have finalized our deal with Robco. Starting tomorrow, we will be an official Robco facility. Most of you won't notice anything different, aside from an increase in benefits. Thank you all for your time, and welcome again to the Robco family. Steve. In the next one, cake. This is a direct message to the owner of this terminal, presumably Stacy Johnson, a junior engineer. It was from Gordon Pesquet, a senior engineer. Stacy, are you kidding me? We've been planning Martin's party for months now, and you forgot to order the cake? There is no way we're gonna find someplace to deliver one out here on this kind of notice. Go to the break room and find something for everyone to eat at the party. Gordon. Whoops, looks like someone dropped the ball. And we learned that a fellow named Martin is retiring. I wonder why someone would be retiring right after an acquisition from Robco. Leaving this cubicle, we can continue to explore this office space. We see a door to the east, and as we open it, we get attacked by more feral ghouls. This battle pushed us into a northeast cubicle, where we find a hula girl bobblehead and another employee terminal. This terminal has both of the same intramails that we saw at the last terminal, and a new one for the owner of this terminal called Martin's Retirement. This must be where Gordon Pesquet, the senior engineer, sat. The email was from Emily, the facilities manager. Hey Gordon, I was as surprised as you were to hear about Martin's retirement. It seemed that things were going so well. The party sounds like a great idea. I'm sure he'll love to see everyone on his last day. Let me know if there's anything that I can do to help. Emily. So Martin's retirement was a surprise retirement. Even his fellow employees were shocked. As we turn west, we see that the ceiling has formed a rubble ramp to the next floor. But before we go up, let's finish reading the terminals in this office space. To the southwest, we find another employee terminal. But this has all the same intramails that we saw on the previous terminals. As we round a corner, we get attacked by another feral ghoul. And here, next to a big hole in a wall, we find a terminal to the southeast. This terminal has two new messages, $V$*. This terminal must have belonged to the Robco HQ supply department. It's from Bill Martin. Oh, maybe this is the very same Martin who was set to retire. He was the Repconn custodian. Dear Robco Supply, first off, let me say that everyone here is really excited about the merger. It's super to be part of a company as exciting as Robco. Have we got some kinks in the supply chain? Yesterday, a bunch of crates got delivered here containing 2 gross of devices called Stealth Boys. Is it okay if I ask what these things are? Do they really make you turn invisible? That sounds wild. What will Robco think of next? Let me know if the shipment came here by mistake. No problem if it didn't. I bet you can have a lot of fun with these things. Thanks, Bill Martin. This may explain why we found the corpse of the Nightkin on the ground floor lobby. We remember from my videos on Jacobstown that Nightkin are a special breed of super mutant that are addicted to using stealth boys. They feel uncomfortable in daylight. They don't like being seen. These Nightkin roam the world searching for pre-war stealth boy technology. If there are stealth boys here at the Repconn test site, perhaps we'll find more Nightkin deeper. But was this Bill the very same Martin who was retiring? He didn't mention anything about his retirement. Maybe we haven't found the right guy yet. The next one is called Private Server Access, and here we see that the Robco HQ supply department had access to the server of Piers Isley. We remember Piers Isley as the general manager of Repconn. We even found his body on the top floor of the Repconn headquarters. He was holding a suitcase filled with pre-war money. He sent a message to Steve Reynolds, the launch facilities project manager. Steve, please make sure your people are ready for the Robco visit. We're down to negotiating on what the project is worth, so the better that experiment goes tomorrow, the better for all of us. In the next one, regarding the Robco visit, Steve Reynolds sent an email to Piers Isley saying, "Sir, I have my team looking into what happened yesterday. I was assured by my best people that the experiment would go off without a hitch. We're starting a cleanup of the affected area today, but I'm told that it may take decades for the radiation to clear completely." Oh no, so it sounds like the experiment that Piers had asked about in the previous message somehow failed, producing a nuclear spill. Perhaps the spill is responsible for turning these employees into ferals. And the next one, we find a response from Piers Isley. Steve, just make sure that someone is punished for this. This has significantly reduced our position with Robco. I want them to know that we can keep our house in order. Whoops, looks like someone is for the chop. Turning around and checking out the terminal on the opposite wall, we don't find any new messages. Going through the big busted wall, we find another robed dead ghoul. This appears to be some sort of server room, and we can open a door to the west which leads to a big broken hallway. Turning right, we find an easy locked door. This was a storage closet. Here we just find scrap glue and a Braxo cleaner. Turning around, we see some rubble to the south. So instead we can turn back into the room. We can go through a door to the southeast, which leads to another hallway. We can go through a door to the right, which leads to another hallway. And we find ourselves in that hallway just outside the room to the cubicles, where we had just read from those terminals. Turning around, we can go south. Here we find an easy locked door. On the inside, we find a whole bunch of filing cabinets, but more importantly, the skeleton of a man with a scoped hunting revolver. His body lies next to a large safe. On top of it are some microfusion cells and .308 caliber ammunition. The safe is locked with an easy lock. Inside, we find some caps, a laser pistol, pre-war money, and a couple of stealth boys. So Repconn really did receive a shipment of stealth boys, and it looks like someone, perhaps this dead gentleman here, saved a couple for his own personal use. Turning around and looking northeast, we find another easy locked door. This leads out to another hallway. We see a staircase to the right going down, but instead we'll head east into the next room. Here we find a bunch of cigarettes on the ground, a tool cabinet to the southwest with just some scrap metal inside, and a lot of blood splatter on the wall. To leave, we go northeast, back to what must now be a very familiar hallway. We've gone in a big loop. So to continue forward, we go west. Here we go down a hallway where we can open a door to the southwest, which leads to a bunk room. I wonder what people were doing sleeping at the office. There's a big hole in the floor leading downstairs, but we don't want to go down there yet. We can exit through an eastern door, which leads to another blood-soaked hallway. Down the hallway and to the right, we can unlock a very easy lock, which leads to some sort of supply closet. There's nothing interesting in here aside from a Braxo cleaner, burned books, and a bunch of scrap and glue. Heading out and turning right, we can round a corner where we find ourselves at the top of the balcony overlooking the receptionist area. Here we can round a corner to kill a ghoul that came up the stairs, and we've gone in a complete loop. But what we haven't found is a metal staircase to the east that the voice on the intercom told us about. So we've missed something. We must need to go up that rubble ramp that we saw earlier. But first, let's head down the stairs just to be thorough and make sure that we explore this section of the ground floor. Winding down a hallway, we can unlock a door to the north. This leads to a staircase, bringing us to the second floor. Before we go on up, we can turn back around and check out a bathroom. Here we just find a first aid kit on the wall. So going back to the staircase, we can head on up, and we find ourselves at the staircase we saw earlier after leaving the room with the safe and the corpse. Winding our way back into the office cubicle room, we can take the rubble ramp to the third floor. Here we find another terminal to the southwest, but this has all the same company-wide emails we've already read. To get out, we've got to creep along to a very easy locked door to the southeast. On the other side, we find a hallway. We can go left, right, or straight. Going left first, we find another bunk room. Am I the only one that thinks this is odd? How many workplaces has multiple bunk rooms where employees can sleep? At the foot of each of these beds are some footlockers, but there's nothing terribly interesting inside. We find a staircase in the middle of the room here. Going down, we see absolute devastation. To the northwest, the floor has completely collapsed on in. At the end of this room, we find a hallway snaking south, and lo and behold, we're back in the room with that rubble ramp. Oh God, how did we get here? Turning around and going east, at last we find a door that leads to a big metal staircase. Exactly what the voice was talking about. But for the sake of being thorough, before we go up that way, let's turn around and go back up that staircase because there was this section over here, that doorway that we saw immediately upon reaching the third floor. This looks like some sort of big office room. Heading inside, we find framed portraits on the wall and a big horseshoe-shaped desk. Going behind the desk, we find the Repconn Administrator Terminal. The first one reads, Storage Room Terminal. It's a message from Bill Levy, the janitor, to Steve Reynolds. Hi Steve, we've finished converting that old generator room into storage, as you requested. If you need to gain access to the safe, the password is Repconn. Thanks, Bill. The safe mentioned in this terminal entry was cut from the game. We do find the generator room converted into storage a bit later on, but inside we don't find a safe. So this passcode serves no purpose. In the next one, regarding retirement, we find a message from Martin Nehmeyer, a senior engineer, to Steve Reynolds. So the Martin we read about earlier must not be the one retiring. This one must be. He is a senior engineer, and his last name is Nehmeyer, just like Emily's. Emily Nehmeyer was the facility manager who sent that big message about cleaning up the kitchen. She's also the one who said that she was just as surprised as everyone else to learn that Martin was retiring. She must be his wife. And it's strange to read that she was surprised that her husband was retiring. You'd think it would be something that he would spend quite some time talking with her about. Hello, Stevie, he says. Well, I can't say that I'm surprised. You were a devious worm when we started here all those years ago. I guess someone has to take the blame, and it may as well be your old friend, That waste spill never would have happened if you didn't push the team so hard, or if you had paid for actual competent personnel. I'll be happy to take my retirement package. Good riddance to you in this forsaken place. Martin. So, Martin's retirement was a surprise. He was forced into it by Steve, the project manager. It was Steve who was responsible for the toxic waste spill, but he put the blame on Martin to save face in front of peers. Turning around, we find an average locked wall safe. In the safe, we find a bunch of energy ammunition, bottle caps, a plasma pistol, and 2 more stealth boys. Looks like everyone was trying to get their hands on the stealth boys in that shipment. Going west down the hallway, we see that it's blocked off, which means we've finally explored everything. We can then retrace our steps and go through an eastern door to scale the metal stairs. On the ground, we find another Nightkin corpse, right next to a bunch of feral ghouls, and in the southeastern corner, dismembered bodies and 2 dead Brahmin. This must be the handiwork of the Nightkin. We all know that they do love to eat their Brahmin. Climbing the catwalk, we zigzag across a number of platforms until we reach the top. Here, we see one of the Repconn rockets on some sort of launch track. Turning around, we find the corpse of another robed ghoul right outside a floating pod. On his body, we again find more energy ammunition, and this time a bunch of chems. On the western end of the pod, we find a door and an intercom.
All right, Smoothskin, I'm letting you in. You better watch yourself. I'll sure as hell be watching you.
And with that, we can open the door to the Repconn research labs.
God, but are you ugly. Get upstairs and talk to Jason before I throw up just from looking at you.
Whoa, this was not the face I was expecting. Hey, you're not a ghoul.
Your pranks won't work on me, Smoothskin. They won't work on Jason either.
Smooth skin? Your skin looks pretty smooth to me.
Stop wasting my time, Smoothskin. Go waste Jason's.
All right, well, it looks like we gotta find this guy named Jason. Thankfully, Chris Haversham leads the way. He opens a door to the west and then takes us up a staircase in the middle of the adjacent room. At the top of the staircase, working at a workbench, we find Jason Bright, a glowing one?
Hello, Wanderer. Please forgive us our humble surroundings. Our true home awaits us in the far beyond. Have you come to help us complete the great journey?
Who are you?
I am Jason Bright, the prophet of the great journey. All the ghouls you see here are members of my flock.
Your last name is Bright? That's funny.
An auspicious name, don't you think? It was mine before I became as I am now. Before the Great War, even. Truly does the Creator author a destiny for each and every one of us.
What's the great journey?
We wish to escape the barbarity of the wasteland, especially the violence and bigotry of its human inhabitants. The Creator has promised to my flock a new land, a place of safety and healing, a paradise in the far beyond. Preparations for the great journey were nearly complete when the demons appeared.
I see. This great journey doesn't have anything to do with comets, does it? Forget that, but tell me more about these demons.
The demons appeared from nowhere, except it might be more accurate to say they never actually appeared at all. The demons are invisible. Where one of them stands, the most one sees is the air shimmering, like sunlight on water. They set upon us as we were on our way to worship one morning. We had just entered the basement. My flock fought bravely and killed a few, but at such cost. Nearly half of us died or went missing. The rest of us retreated up here. One of the demons raved at us, but they have not tried to attack us since. Still, their demonic presence brought all progress towards the great journey to a standstill. But now you have come. Once again, the Creator has sent a human to help us across a seemingly insurmountable obstacle.
Ah, so the demons were the Nightkin. Invisible because they were using stealth boys. They must have come here knowing that Repconn received a shipment of stealth boys. But Jason, you say one of the demons raved at you?
Yes, over the intercom. Threats of death should we step outside. Guarantees of safety should we stay locked away. It went on for hours, and did not always make sense. But that was the first day only. Since then, silence. Will you drive away the demons, Wanderer?
All right, I'll take care of the demons for you.
Praise the Creator. Bless you, Wanderer. Bless us all. As soon as the underground has been rid of demons, preparations for the great journey can resume.
So how will you make this journey?
The means by which the great journey is to be accomplished are an article of faith, not to be discussed with outsiders.
What is this far beyond?
I have glimpsed it only in visions, Wanderer, but what I have seen is truly miraculous. It is a place of light and healing, and I know in my soul that my flock will be safe there.
Hey, what's the deal with that human who let me in?
You're referring to Chris. I doubt you had much luck if you tried telling him that he's human. We had the same discussions when he first appeared, and the same lack of success. He believes he is one of us. Soon enough we realized that Chris was a gift from the Creator. He is integral to the success of the great journey.
All right, I'm gonna go take care of those demons.
I understand. I know you will fulfill your promise.
So, Jason Bright, he's the leader of some sort of ghoul cult, trying to go on a great journey somewhere. Well, they seem harmless enough. I suppose I can help for now. We find a terminal to the east, but it's owned. So to avoid turning these ghouls hostile, we need to hide. Here we find all the same intra-mails we've seen earlier with one new one: retirement. This must be the terminal of Martin Nehmeyer, the guy who was retiring. Here we find the message from Steve that Martin responded to in the terminal we just read. "Hello, Martin," says Steve. "First, let me thank you for all of your years of dedicated service with me and the rest of our Repconn family. Without all of your hard work, we wouldn't have achieved a fraction of the success that we enjoy today. That being said, the face of Repconn is getting younger, and according to my records, you've been fully vested in your pension for a little more than 2 years. Given the recent incident, I think that this is an excellent time for you to retire gracefully. Your friend, Stevie." So Steve forced Martin into retirement because Martin was too old? At least his pension was fully vested. That means he's going to get all of it. But he must have stuck around 2 years after it became vested because his wife worked here, because he liked working here. Repconn, this company, was his family. But simply because Martin was too old in Stevie's eyes, Stevie wanted to get rid of him. Looks like ageism is alive and well in the Fallout universe. We find a room to the east. Here we see a shelf with a bunch of Radaway and chems, but everything is set to own, so we can't loot any of this without losing karma. Heading south, we can take a staircase down to the first floor. Turning east, we can open a door, which leads to another hallway. Going west and then turning south, we find an exit door, but this is locked and it requires a key. We can't go through here now, but let's remember this for later. Heading northwest, we find the bedroom for these Bright followers. They sleep on filthy mattresses on the ground. Not an idyllic living situation, but at least they're safe. Heading north down the hallway and turning west, we find a door to the Repconn facility. This brings us to a staircase. Heading down, we find that the staircase continues to the west, but it's blocked by a bunch of rubble. There's also a door to the southeast, but it also is blocked with rubble. There was a door to the east, but it's blocked with filing cabinets and more rubble. There's a hole in the floor to the northeast, leading to the mainframe terminal we saw earlier, which means this way is an easy way out of the building. But more importantly, we find another terminal. Here, we find one new entry: visitor policy. To all Repconn employees, from Steve Reynolds. Hello everyone. Please remember that this is a private, secure facility. Family members are not allowed past reception, under any circumstances. If you see any tourists near the facility, please direct them to the headquarters building. And if you see any unauthorized personnel inside the building, contact security immediately. Remember, only you can prevent corporate espionage. He ends with a common slogan that we saw in propaganda posters all over the Repconn headquarters walls. But we learned from the terminals at the Repconn headquarters that corporate espionage was a real threat. One of the Repconn employees was sending top-secret company information to one of Robco's rivals, Poseidon Energy. Well, this is the way out, but we're not done yet, so heading back, we can go through a door back to the Repconn labs, and instead head straight through the primary room and down a hallway through a door to the east. This leads us back to the big floating pod we saw earlier. Going down the staircase, we can retrace our steps, head out the western door, and then turn south. Here we can take a staircase down to a blood-splattered door to the basement. We can open it using the key that Jason Bright gave us. We find ourselves in a dark basement tunnel. Our task now is to get rid of the Nightkin in this basement, and we have two options. We can kill them, which is actually the easier option, or we can find a peaceful solution, which is much more difficult. We will explore both options when we continue with the story in tomorrow's episode. What are your thoughts so far about the Repconn test site, and in particular, Jason Bright and his followers? I, for one, am getting a big Heaven's Gate vibe, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. Do you think Jason Bright has the best interests of his followers in mind, or is he taking them on this great journey to satisfy his own ego? And what about that stealth boy delivery? We haven't found it yet. Did the Nightkin find it in this basement? And what are your thoughts on the forced retirement of poor Martin Nehmeyer? Do you think it was ageism, as I suggested? Or do you think that perhaps Martin really does bear more of the responsibility for the spill than he let on? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the games. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss my next video, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. That's where I announce any vacations I need to take or if I need to publish a video late one day. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning with episode 2 of this story.
I'll kill you.